Mr. Prashant, I'm happy to have you here. Welcome to Rudaw and also to the Kurdistan region of Iraq.
Thank you very much. I'm really very glad to be at your studio. It's always been a pleasure to come to Kurdistan and especially to Rudaw.
Thank you very much. As the ambassador of India, pretty much you were focusing on finding common grounds between Indian companies and Iraqi companies, and finding a ground for Indian companies to operate and do business in Iraq. I want to start with asking you how many Indian companies now work in Iraq?
Well, there are quite a few Indian companies which are working in Iraq, but at the same time we are having very good trading relationship with Iraq. Our trade partnership with Iraq is very robust. In fact, Iraq in general, as Iraq, has been our largest trading partner in terms of energy security.
Yes.
It's very important for us because, as you know, India is a very big economy. It is in fact the 5th largest economy in the world. It is $4 trillion economy, and our economic growth rate is 7.5%. We need about 5 million barrels a day oil. We don't have crude oil in India. We buy about 1 million barrels a day from Iraq. So Iraq is in fact very important for us in terms of energy security. In fact, our bilateral trade is very robust. It's about $37 billion is the bilateral trade, import and export, out of which the imports from Iraq were $33 billion. So we contribute about 33% of revenue which is generated by Iraq. So it's a huge, I would say, relationship, especially economic relationship with Iraq.
So literally, Iraq's budget is about $100 billion annually. About 30% of that money from Iraq's budget comes from India.
Absolutely.
It comes from oil.
Absolutely,
Because
yeah.
the oil is almost between 30 to $35 billion. According, it's different from year to year. That comes from India. And this is interesting. And India is the second largest buyer of energy from Iraq after China. As ambassador, of course, you had your own vision and your own plan in the last 3 years. Could you accomplish that during your work in Iraq?
Yes, I'm very glad that I have been here for 3 years, and these 3 years have been, I would say, very satisfying. In terms of, I think, various activities, reaching, first and foremost was, I think, reaching out to our Iraqi friends, because in India, Iraq is very popular. Perhaps many Iraqis, many Kurdish people also know that there are a lot of Iraqis who go to India, not only for the medical treatment, that is, I think, many people know about it, but there are many Iraqi students also who study in India. In fact, as per one estimate, there are about 10,000 Iraqi students who have graduated from India. There are
10,000.
about 10,000 so far. About 1,500 to 2,000 Iraqi students are at the moment they are studying in India. We offer very good number of scholarships to Iraqi students. In fact, this year it is the first time we have been offering 75 scholarships. These are fully paid scholarships from Government of India to Iraqi students. Out of these 75, there are quite a few Kurdish students also. These are fully paid scholarships, including international airfare. And we generally offer the scholarships to the Iraqi students, not only just the baccalaureate, but at the magister and doctora. So there are a lot of these higher education opportunities which are offered to Iraqi students, so that they can go with their families for 4 to 5 years. And most of the subjects which are preferred by Iraqi students are engineering, information technology, accountancy, pharmacy, agriculture, and they go to some of the best universities in India, where even the Indian students find it difficult to get admissions into. So it's, I would say, a very good development.
Any viewers may ask now, students, how can they find this scholarship? Can they check it on the website? How can they apply for it?
Yes, it is all available on the portal. It is the entire process is online process. It's like any other international scholarship program. But it is fully automated. All the students can apply online, and they have to choose 5 universities and courses of their choice. Once the universities accept the candidature, then they come to us, and then we offer them the scholarship, we offer them free visa, we offer them free international airfare, and their tuition fees and their accommodation and everything.
So this is all being paid
all being
for
paid by the government.
by the government.
And these are the
So
75 students who can go every year.
Every year.
This year we offered 75, and all 75 slots have been fully utilized, so 100% utilization.
This is interesting. Coming back to the companies, Indian companies in Iraq, which field are they interested in, and which field they operate in more?
Mostly, I would say hospital management, pharmaceuticals. Then some of the Indian companies are, I think, in agriculture field, machineries, even in oil and gas, electricity. There have been, I think, some Indian companies which have been supplying the electrical spare parts as well as the transmission lines. So these are some of the potential areas of our cooperation between the two countries.
This year compared to last year, I think Indian exports to Iraq increased about 24%. This is something great. Now it reached $3.4 billion. Do you have any specific number, a vision that you have for trade exchange between Iraq and India for the number?
Yes.
What's that number? What's Indian plan for trade exchange with Iraq?
Yeah, as I said in the beginning, we are importing something like about $30 to $33 billion from worth of oil from Iraq, and we export, as you said, 3.3. So there is a huge, what we call is a trade deficit.
Yes.
That we import more and we export less. So it's about 1/10 of what we import. That's our exports. So naturally, we would like to export. One is increase the value. The other one is diversify the export basket. When I say diversify, means diversify the portfolio of various products. So one thing is right now, as you very rightly said, it's about 3.4 billion. Our immediate, I think, priorities, at least we should cross $4 billion, and probably we should cross $5 billion. Why I am saying is this, because as you know, perhaps we signed a treaty of friendship with Iraq in 1952.
Yes.
So that is the year when we formally established diplomatic relations between India and Iraq. So we are going to celebrate 75 years of our friendship treaty in 2027. So 3 years from now. So I think that is a very good milestone, that in next 3 years, if our these indicators also match to the this historic milestone.
What are the main products that India export to Iraq?
Quite a lot of products, as I said, as machineries, but the chunk of the products are, I would say, the meat products. A lot of meat comes from India. There are a lot of Iraqi companies and even Kurdish companies also. They have their representatives in meat houses in India. Then there are some products like basmati rice, sugar, and tea, coffee, some petroleum. What happened was we buy crude oil from Iraq, and we refine some products which are required by Iraq, the refined petroleum derivatives. So we send those products also back to Iraq.
Petrochemicals.
Petrochemicals.
I remember last June there was a delegation of traders and businessmen, Indian businessmen in Kurdistan, and there was lots of meeting here with officials, also with the Chamber of Commerce. Specifically with the Kurdistan region of Iraq, how is the relation between India and the Kurdistan region in terms of trade?
In terms of trade, I think we are doing very well. So we have, as you very rightly said, we have had quite a few trade delegations to Kurdistan. This was exclusively for Kurdistan, not a whole of Iraq. One of the delegations was interested in construction material. As you know, there is, I think, booming construction industry, construction activity in Kurdistan, and there is a lot of, I think, opportunity for Indian products, especially the ceramics and tiles and marbles, which are coming from India. So there have been a lot of Indian companies which are interested in the Kurdistan market. I hope Kurdistan will also contribute very substantially in terms of India-Iraq trade.
It's very clear that the trade relation between India and the Kurdistan region of Iraq and Iraq is very strong, and the tie is very, very strong and historical. And when it comes to Kurds, it's also cultural too. These are all good ties. But why, at least, we can't see this reflection on the political level? So far, we haven't seen summits between the president of Iraq or the president of Kurdistan or the prime minister of Iraq and the prime minister of the Kurdistan region of Iraq with a high level of Indian officials so far.
Well, I would say there have been exchanges. There haven't been exchange of visits for a long time, but there have been a few exchanges. I would quote, in fact, last year we had very robust, I would say, exchange of visits. Last year, in fact, we had the political consultations. Our delegation, very senior member of our Minister of External Affairs, visited Iraq as well as Kurdistan, and they came and met the president of KRG, prime minister of KRG, and the delegation met the DFR representative also. So the political consultations is an ongoing process, and we have been having that process, I think, very regularly. In fact, as I said, our relationship is basically the trading relationship is based on oil. So we had joint committee meeting between India and Iraq. It was held after a period of 10 years, and the Minister of Oil, Federal Minister of Oil, visited India last year. So we had the joint committee meeting, and it is an opportunity where a lot of ministry come together and they represent both the government. So we had, in fact, about 22 representatives from Iraq who had visited India, representing various ministries, like Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Electricity, and Ministry of Water Resources, and various ministries. Another important visit was, as perhaps some of you would be knowing, so we have very strong, the political and strategic coherence. So the National Security Advisor, Mr. Arraji, visited India for we have what we call is the strategic dialogue mechanism. So we had this strategic dialogue with his Indian counterpart, that is Indian National Defense, National Security Advisor. So we had these exchanges last year. I hope this year again it will start. Why in the beginning of this year the the exchange of visits did not take place? That is because we had the general elections in India.
Yes.
Perhaps you know that every 5 years in India,
biggest democracy in the world.
Yeah. So it's the biggest democracy, it's the biggest elections
in the world.
In the world, I would like to tell you about very briefly about the elections in India. That we are the largest country in terms of population, 1.44 billion population. That
is, it's not China anymore. India is the most with the most population in the world.
Most populated, and out of that one, about 1 billion people were eligible to vote. Because in India, 18 years and above can go and vote. So about 1 billion people were eligible. Out of 1 billion people, about 670 million people actually went and voted, because 67% was the voting turnout. And it was a very massive exercise. It took place about 1.5 months. So it's a very big, I would say, democratic experiment in India and in the world also. So what happens in India is, once our elections are announced, so all the major visits, major decision making is held up, because we expect that the new government is to take place. So now the new government has taken over in June, and I'm sure that within the next 6 months you will see now again resumption of high level visits.
Okay. In terms of people, how many people visit India from Iraq annually? Do you have any number?
From Iraq, I think at least in Baghdad we issue about 35,000 visas. From Kurdistan we issue about 5,000 visas. So at least every year. So at least 40,000 people, I'm sure that when they visit.
And how many people from India visit Iraq annually?
I think it's much bigger number, because it's not only for the business or political, but it's a religious tourism. It's because in India,
Najaf
and Karbala, especially during Arba'in.
Do you have any number how many people
so
visit
I think
Najaf?
the estimate is about 100,000, at least 100,000 people in a year, because we have there's a lot of shrines even in Baghdad also. So many people come from India to visit.
There are even very big figures, Shia religious figures in Najaf, who are Marja'iyya. They are from India. How is your relation with Najaf?
Oh, it's a very strong relationship. In fact, Najaf, the holy city of Najaf is very important in India. We have had not only this recent the relationship, but it goes back to about 200 to 300 years back. In fact, there is a region in northern India, it's called Lucknow. So the Nawab, the prince of that princely state, had sent gold. In fact, even now today, the sanctum sanctorum of Najaf shrine has the gold which has been supplied from India. And another thing was, when the Najaf was not very well developed 250 years back. So this Nawab, he was a very rich person in India. So he had in fact sponsored I think about $1 million that time, 250 years back. It's a huge amount that time, to construct roads as well as construct a waterway in Najaf. So it goes back to several centuries ago, and even now also there are about 3,000 Indians and their families who are part of the Marjai, and for Indian Shias it's very important, it's very holy.
Do you have any plan to open direct flights between Erbil or Kurdistan region of Iraq and India?
We are in talk because we have direct flight from Baghdad, we have direct flight from Najaf, we have direct flight from Basra. So there are 3 cities from Iraq. We hope that there will be a direct flight from Erbil, because there are a lot of patients, especially the Kurdish patients, who would like to go to India for medical treatment.
How do you facilitate now, because there's lots of issuing visas for Iraqi passport holders?
Well, I think our the visa policy is very liberal. As I said, we issue in Baghdad 5,000 visas, 5,000 here. We issue them within 24 hours. If someone 24 hours. If someone has given a visa application today, by tomorrow their visas are ready and handed over. So we are very liberal, we are very quick, and we have very efficient visa team. So I don't think there is any backlog, or we don't keep any visa backlog with us.
Oh, that's good. Do you have any specific number? In general, the Indian community in Iraq and the Kurdistan, how many are they?
Well, I think it's growing. Earlier it was about 20,000, but now I think my estimate is about 30,000.
30,000.
And it's increasing every month, because what is happening is, there are, as you know, in Iraq there are a lot of reconstruction activity. There are a lot of projects, especially in oil and gas field, even in construction also, like Al-Faw. So there are a lot of, I think, Indian engineers and skilled, I would say, engineering workers who are coming and being part of these projects. Same thing is happening in Kurdistan also, like steel factories and a lot of other things. So in Kurdistan, my estimate is about 8,000 Indians who are working in Kurdistan, about 25 to 30,000 in Iraq.
The last few years, we've seen increasing of Indian teachers and professors in universities in Kurdistan. Now, many universities in Kurdistan, they have Indian teachers. Do you have any number, how many teachers work
no,
here?
I don't often. I don't
have you noticed
there are quite a few.
teachers?
Yeah, more and more teachers are coming here, because most of these universities, I think, are employing Indian teachers, especially in engineering, in business administration, in management, yes.
As you said, many people from Iraq and Kurdistan too, Kurdish people, go to India for treatment, medical treatment. It's a huge sector, and sometimes they are talking about fraud. I just want to ask, how can you support them, and how can you help them as the embassy of India in Iraq?
Well, I think
Do you have a help desk or anything like that?
Well, yes, we have our commercial representative and entire team in India, in Indian embassy. What we have suggested to the Iraqi government is to have a health attaché in the Iraqi embassy in New Delhi, so that he can also coordinate with the Indian hospitals. He can go and supervise those hospitals. He can interact with the Indian hospitals. I think it has helped really very well. And most of the Indian hospitals, in fact, now have a separate foreign desk to deal with foreign patients. In fact, almost all hospitals in India dealing with Iraq have Arabic translator in their hospital. I think that has really helped in a big way.
We have a Kurdish historian. His name was Muhammad Amin Zaki Bek. He talks about Kurds in India, and he talks about a Kurdish tribe in India, in an area called Sant. The name of it's Brahoy. Brahoy is the name of the Kurdish tribe. He wrote this in the 50s or 40s. Is there any Kurds in India now? Have you ever heard
I don't know, but I think I have been hearing these stories and this kind of I think accounts from time to time and from various experts. I really feel that there has to be some kind of research, so because it's really very fascinating, because so there have been from India and to India, so always a flow of people, because Indian, as you know, the society, the Indians in general have been very receptive to various cultures. As you know, India is a very
so you heard that too. That
I also heard, yeah. But I think there should be some historian or someone researcher who should do a thorough research. I would be really very interested in supporting.
I think we as Rudaw, we should go to India and check that up.
I think so. Yeah, you must.
Do you feel the similarity between the Kurds and Indian in terms of culture and linguistic too?
Oh, absolutely. As you said, it's Hindustan. So Hindustan is a Hindi word. You say Hindustan here also. You say Azadi. So there are so many words, between Kurdish language and Indian language.
We heard that, we see many news in the last few years that India might change its name from India to Bharat. Bharat is also a Sanskrit name of India. And we also saw in 2023, the G20 summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the sign in front of him was written Bharat. Will India change its name into Bharat?
Well, as you know, India is only 200 years or 250 years old, because when the British came to India, British colonized India about 250 years ago. So that time only, India became India. So it's not really India of the 5,000-year-old. So Bharat is, in fact, it's been there for a long time. So in India, there are still people who say that it's Bharat. So there has been, if you see Turkey, or say the Czechia. So a lot of, I think, there are those demands from the people that officially, unofficially is always, many people say. In fact, when I say that I'm an Indian, this is in English, but when we say in our Indian language, we say I'm, Bharatiya. So Bharatiya is Bharat, Bharatiya. So it's been there for a long time. The only thing is now it is gaining, I think, importance because officially, I think many people would like India to be recognized as Bharat.
The early August, you were in Halabja, and you donated some musical instruments to the Halabja Directorate of Art and Culture. And we also talked about the similarity linguistically and culturally between Indian people, Bharati people, and the Kurds. Have you worked on expanding this cultural relation between Kurdistan and India?
Absolutely, because I would say this is just the beginning, because we realize that there are tremendous similarities between Indian culture and Kurdish culture. In fact, some of the instruments which we donated, they are available in India, they are available here, like a daf. Daf, we say the same thing in Indian language also. There are a lot of those things. In fact, we have been having cultural exchanges. We are going to have, we had in fact 3 cultural groups which visited Kurdistan from India. There was a cultural group from Kurdistan which went to India and spent about 20 days last year, last October. So they went to North India, and then they traveled, I think, about 2,000 kilometers. India is a big country, but they went from one part of India to another part of India. We are going to have another, in fact, 2 cultural groups in this December, in like another 3 months or so. In fact, we are going to participate in a film festival here in Dohuk Film Festival. Very soon, India is going to be a partner country of Dohuk Film Festival. So there will be a lot of Indian films which will be participating and which will be shown at the Dohuk Film Festival, and there will be a big cultural bonanza. Not only the cultural groups, but there will be an exhibition and the films and film critics who will be coming from India.
Mr. Prashant Pise, thank you very much for this opportunity, and welcome again to Rudaw. We are happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you.